All right, what's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Security. Now, where we last left off, we did a manual exploit of SQL injection on this Hack the Box Oz box here. And we were just sort of stepping through manually the different lines, different entries in the database. Well, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be exploiting this automatically. We're going to automate it with SQLMap. And if you find form fields and stuff like that, tying this back to the OSCP once again, of course, that's what the content that I'm making here is all about anyways. We want to, I want to improve your knowledge for OSCP, get you guys more prepared, and also, do some nice review myself so that I'm ready along with you guys to get this certification. So when we do these automated exploits, there's a way to we want to have it running in the background. If we see form fields, if we see like a login page and has like a username, password, a lot of times on OSCP, that's like a good indicator of maybe this is vulnerable to SQL injection. So you can do the manual stuff that I showed above, and we can kind of get an idea, but sometimes the exploitation isn't that simple. Sometimes we won't be able to confirm is it vulnerable to SQL injection solely off that. That's where, start with the low-hanging fruit. This is the low-hanging fruit that I showed you in the previous video. If that doesn't work, don't stop there. Run SQLMap, the tool I'm about to show you how to use, and have that running in the background while you're digging into other aspects of the site, other potential vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and do that here. Before I do, we are going to erase all of this because this is the vulnerable area to SQL injection. Now we want SQLMap to test this part, right? That's where we want it to be trying stuff. So what we can do is put asterisk, and this is going to be a special character to SQLMap that lets it know, hey, test here. So now that we've done this, let's right-click this, and we'll copy to file. And let's go ahead and put this. I never created a directory for this one, so we'll just put this for now. We can just put it in opt, I suppose. And we're going to call this one oz.rec, oz.request, right? So, and now that we have that file saved, we're going to go to the SQLMap tool, which is pre-installed in Kali. At least it better be, right? Otherwise, I'm going to have to go pause the video and grab that. Yes, I do have it. So now that I for sure have that one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run SQLMap. And let's go back a directory because this is where we saved the file, I do believe. Well, now I'm not seeing it. Hang on. Yeah, there's opt directory there. Let's see. Let's try this again. Copy it to file. And we'll call it oz.rec. Let's see if it'll save it this time. It's weird that it didn't earlier. Normally it will. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe. Oh, you know what I think it is? I think it doesn't have permission. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why. So we'll save it to the temp directory instead, because we'll have write permission there. So let's just go ahead and take this to the temp directory oz.rec. Oops. Yeah, it should. I think it was a permissions issue there. So we can confirm that by going to temp and then looking. Yeah, that must have been what it was. So we'll run SQLMap from here then. SQLMap, and we give it -r and then the name of the file that we saved. And that should be pretty much everything because it already has everything else from the request. So the first thing, remember we saved it with the asterisk where we wanted it to inject, and it says custom injection marker was found. Do you want to process it? Yes, we do. And it says, are you sure that you want to? Now, one thing I'll say about SQLMap, right? It prompts you a lot. And some people get annoyed by the fact it prompts you for stuff. And I know a lot of people, they just want to mash the enter key on the default, but you really need to pay attention to what it's asking you, because based on what you choose, it could take like several hours to complete, or and like do things that are super tedious that it doesn't need to be doing, or you can like save a lot of time and find things a lot faster, right? Like it's going to try to guess, and you can supply it with information too to make it quicker as well, but it's going to try to guess the database that's running. It's trying to guess the parameter. In this case, we told it where to fuzz, where to inject, right? But yeah, it's going to ask you really important questions. So basically what I'm trying to say is really pay attention to what it's asking you and answer to the best of your abilities. So it's saying, are you sure that you want to continue with further testing because it's protected by like some kind of WAF or IPS? It's like, yeah. Whatever's capital here is the default, so I didn't have to type Y here, just so you know. So now, right now it's trying to guess what database it is. Now that's something I could have given it the flag and told it which database. Could have told it, hey, it's MySQL. Then that would save some time. It wouldn't have to guess that information. Now, it did eventually guess it. It says, appears to be MySQL and time-based blind, injectable. And it says, now here's the important part, right? Because it's going to ask, it looks like this is what it's running. Do you want to skip the test and payloads for all the other stuff? Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely do, right? So if you say no, it's going to like waste time trying to exploit all these other ones. And they won't work because we know it's MySQL. So yeah, we'll just have it do that. So now that we found that it's vulnerable, what we can just try and do is there's a lot of different things we can do here. So obviously we know from our manual testing, we know that it's vulnerable already. But this tool can go so much further than just this, right? This is the tip of the iceberg. So let me exit out of this, Control-C, right? Let's just take a look at the man page. We'll go from there. This tool has so much to it, really. So we gave it a request file. We could have given it a URL, but I found that the request file is just an easier way to do it because it already can read a lot of information from the request and you don't have to supply it with as much. It's going to be a lot smarter in a manner of speaking. You can also tell it what parameter you want it to test by using the -p flag. In our case, we were able to use the asterisk and it was able to know. See, I could have gave it the --dbms and said it's MySQL. Risk, the higher the risk, the more testing that it's going to do, like the more aggressive testing it's going to do. The higher the level, the more test that's actually going to perform. And now here's where things get really interesting, right? You can tell it, hey, let's try to grab passwords or tables or the schema or dump database table entries, dump all these different things. This is where it gets really good. So the first thing you want to do is just run it generically, find what parameters are vulnerable, if any, to SQL injection. Once you know something's vulnerable, that's when these other flags come into play, and you can start trying to grab passwords, dump database table entries, stuff like that. OS pwn, try to spawn a shell off it, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that, right? This is a pretty nice and simple man page, really. I like this. It's really clean. So in this case, we know that it is vulnerable. That parameter is vulnerable. So we can do --dump, and we should be able to get some good info off that, right? So we'll give it a second to run. Now, for a lot of stuff, normally it takes pretty long to find if something's vulnerable. We were able to speed it up by telling it where to look because we already did the manual testing, right? If we didn't do any manual testing, we wouldn't have any idea. Man, I should have put the DB in, it would have been faster, right? But yeah, if we didn't do that manual testing earlier, this thing would have to do a lot more searching around to find where it's vulnerable, and maybe it wouldn't even find it. Chances are that it would, but maybe it wouldn't. And so sometimes, what I'm trying to say is sometimes this can take quite a long time to complete. So it's a nice thing usually it's a nice thing to have running in the background. So now that it knows this is vulnerable, do you want to keep testing others, if any? No. And you see the N for no is capital, so I can just hit enter. That's going to be the default. And look, it dumped the database here, so we get all this information, right? There's all this base 64 stuff that we could decode if we wanted to. I'll just spoil alert. It's not that useful. But to show you how to do that, you can do something like this. You echo the base 64 encoded string, pipe it into base 64-D for decode, and then you get the decoded base 64. But I know from previous experience with this box that there's really nothing too lucrative here. In the case of this box, the juicy information that we get from the database is where it says, where is it? It mentions that there's a new ID RSA and private public key for SSH access to Dorothy. And it says that should be able to find her keys in the default folder under home Dorothy on the DB. So this is the information that's really good because let's go back to the man page here. If it mentioned it or not, I'm not sure. Let's see. There's a read file functionality on here. I don't remember seeing it last time, but I think it should be here in the man page somewhere, I would think. It's really not in the man page. That's interesting. There is a read file flag, I do believe. So let's try this again. And let's try and read that file, right? Home Dorothy. Read that ID RSA, her private key. Because we can get the private key, then we can SSH into this box as her account. So what I'm going to do this time is instead of dump, let's do, I believe, and I could be wrong, I might have to look this up. I think it's like this, read file, home, Dorothy, SSH, ID, RSA. And this is just me knowing where private keys are stored. Oh, file read, okay. I got a little dyslexic there. So, okay, it's tac file tac read. All right, let's try this one again. And see if that fixes the issue. All right, yep, so far so good. Okay, cool. So it fetched the data and logged it under here. So if we cat this, or sorry, no, here, this is the file right here, this specific file. So if we cat that, then there you go. Now we just grabbed her private key just like that from a SQL injection, automated. Now imagine trying to do that as a manual exploit. That would be crazy SQL that you'd have to be writing, So now what I can do is copy this, and I can do Dorothy.key, and I can just paste this in here. And then I'll do chmod 600. That's what you need to do in order to make a key usable, a private key usable for SSH. You got to do chmod 600 on it. And now, as you see here, it is now in this is the permissions that it needs. So now if I do SSH Dorothy at 10.10.10.96, 96, but then, sorry, I forgot the most important part here, -i, tac I, and then Dorothy.key. And yeah, I'll just pretty much stop there. We can pretty much just log in. Now that we have her private key, we chmod at 600. Now we're able to SSH into the box as her account without having her password. So yeah, that's pretty much using SQLMap, how to exploit it from an automated perspective using SQLMap, and even showing you some practical application of what you can do with it. Now, depending on, the exploit, depending on how the SQL stuff is running and stuff, like the underlying technology and whatnot, oftentimes you can get a shell. You can spawn a shell. That's why there's that tac os tac shell flag you can use, and it'll try to spawn a shell. and then obviously, you can get remote code execution from there. But yeah, this was just one such example. But like I said, if you want to see more on SQL injection, if you want to learn more, definitely keep watching my content. Be sure to like and subscribe for more of it. Hit the bell notification if you feel so inclined. Bell icon for notifications. And yeah, because there's going to be plenty more of this. I'm going to be attacking boxes and actually streaming that pretty soon, because I'm really starting to gear up myself for the OSCP. So definitely join me along that journey, and we'll level up with all this stuff together. So yeah, I hope this was of value to you, and let me know what you think down in the comments section below if you have any questions, of course, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.